Welcome back to the Run Radio podcast. My name's Trina Wilcox, and my guest today, someone I met at the farmer's market, Cody Walker. You are a writer, and from what I've noticed on your email, a teacher?
Yes, yeah, I think this is my 15th or 16th year of teaching, something like that. Like,
Bless you.
geez,
That
when you,
that's
I
that's
was
a
looking
tough
back to
job.
I was looking back to my wife for confirmation, and she's kind of like, I don't know,
She's like me.
I don't know.
Maybe feels like an eternity. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, right. So,
So, so tell me about teaching, and tell me how writing has been either a part of that or just a standalone hobby.
yeah, it's one of those things that I've taught. I mean, I teach English. I've taught English for a while. I only had a creative writing class for 1 year because I teach in a small district, and they kind of place you where they need you for stuff, And so, um, but when I had a creative writing class, it was such a great time of doing some exercises with students of like, this is how we describe something in a way, or here's a writing prompt to get us going, and and I only had 6 kids in that class. It was a very small class. And they could not have been better. It was such a great group of everybody was supportive of each other. They were all very talented.
Hmm.
And it kind of helped me too to get some confidence of I would read something to them that I was doing, and they seemed to kind of dig it. Um, and so that was a good time of I remember my first novel that I was working on at the time, which is like a darker take on Peter Pan. I read a little bit of it to them, and they they did a great job of being critical in places of this is what we would like to read, this is what we'd be interested in, and this is what we liked of it. And so I dedicated that first book to all of them
Nice.
because they were just they gave me the confidence that I needed to finish the thing and then keep going. Um, and so yeah, that's about the only time that I've been able to really like bring in stuff that I've done to school. Because then after that, it's been more um, just kind of doing Kickstarters for friends and family and stuff, and then raising money like that. Um, to just to pay off like a cover artist and pay for an editor and stuff to kind of format everything and kind of help out and stuff. So
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Those are really
mhm,
good points. When I've done kids books, which I'm
mhm,
lucky enough that they're small enough I can handle an edit or something like that. But when you have a
mhm,
long novel and story themes and characters, you've got to have good proofreaders and editors,
mhm,
and that can it can not be great if you're the one doing all of those things for so many
yeah.
reasons. So when did you realize you did need to have other people involved?
Um, Ever since the very beginning,
Okay.
like, I mean, I never really did anything on my own. My friend Ross Payton, who runs the Role Playing Public Radio podcast, that's been going for a very long time. It's is a long going RPG podcast. He always formats everything for me for KDP. Um,
Yeah.
he formats my covers and stuff like that. I literally could not do any of this without him. Every single book I've done, and I've done over 10. I don't even know how many I've done at this point, but every single one of them, he's helped me with. I always try to hire a cover artist and stuff that will really make the covers pop and be eye catching. I try to hire people that are just comic artists that I've always loved that I want to
Hmm.
work with. So Shaky Kane is kind of an indie comic guy who, oh my gosh, his art is so grotesque and weird looking, and it's
Hmm.
just like off putting to look at, and I love it so much. And he is the sweetest human being. He's so great. He's so fast, and he's done a couple of the covers for my books, and he's so good. Um, my my best cover, I think, probably too, is Benjamin Mara did a cover for me for my book Patchwork. Ben Mara has like a daily comic that he does on Patreon that's really good too. And so yeah, I just always try to find people that I think do really interesting things that I want to work with, and ask them how much, and make sure that I have enough money that I can pay you for it. Because I just, you want to, like, I don't know, you just want to work with people, and you
Yeah.
just want to, like,
No, it's
collaborate
neat
in
to
some way.
collaborate for sure. What about the publishing process? How did you know right away how you were going to do it, or did you have to nestle into the idea of wanting to self-publish?
I think kind of how I fell into that was so when I was in grad school, I um, was really into writing about comics and doing like comic book criticism.
Mm,
And I sort of fell into a group called SequArt, which it stands for sequential art. And they would just make these books that were about, they were academic texts about comics. And I was like, oh, these guys are so cool. This is so fun. And I learned a lot. And then I learned that, they self-publish, like they just go through, I can't remember what it was at the time. Oh, it was Lulu. Yeah.
oh, okay.
Uh, yeah. So they were publishing through Lulu. And I was like, wow, okay, well, if these guys can make like books about comics through Lulu, then I could write a novel and publish it. And so talking about it with Ross was like, well, KDP is really kind of the one that I use. And so we switched to KDP, and I've never looked back. That's just kind of where everything sits.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's good.
For you, do you think you'll always stay with self-pub, or would you, if the opportunity came by, would you consider traditional?
If someone if someone read something and they're like, please let me give you money so that I can publish it instead, I would go, oh my God, please do that. Um, but I've kind of viewed working on books kind of the way my grandpa used to do woodworking.
Hmm.
Like my grandpa was really the best craftsman. He was amazing. He made all kinds of like just toys for kids. I mean, he really was kind of like a strangely like a Santa Claus. Like he
Aw.
would just make like just stuff for free, and he didn't expect anybody to pay him for anything.
Aw.
Um, he just liked making things, and it was never ever about money. And if he wanted to, he could have set up at farmers markets and sold stuff and made a lot of money. But for him, it was the act of creation and giving it to people. And I like making money, enough money to pay my artist and pay my editor, and then have enough left over for a next project. But it's not really about trying to make money or
Yeah.
trying to, and it's good that it's not about making money because I don't
Yeah.
make it. So it's
Well, and that's
great.
something that I feel like a lot of the writing community already gets, is that you do it because you love writing or you love
Yeah,
storytelling, or even if you're an illustrator, it ain't about making the money. And if you're
right,
so lucky, then great. But if not, I love how publishing has changed, where we can tell stories, and the
right,
stories can be told that might not have seen the light of day, 10 years ago.
right. Yeah, and for me, it's just about like working through puzzles in my head.
Oh, neat.
Like that's literally all it is. As I just think like, what would like currently like the thing I worked on this morning is about it's retelling the 12 labors of Hercules, but in rural Arkansas. And so I just wanted to do like, and that came from a joke from class. Like literally, we would read Antigone together, and we would go through Antigone's family tree, and all the kids would go, "Oh, it's so gross. There's so much incest and all this stuff," and then I would go, "Yeah, it's a little like Arkansas, right?" And it's not nice. That's not nice. That is not nice. That's just a family
Just
joke.
a
Like my
joke.
dad, it's just a joke. But then I got to thinking, and it's like, boy, what if we did like the 12 labors of Hercules in Arkansas? What would that look like?
Yeah.
You know? And so I started working through that puzzle in my head of like, how could that work? And so I made an outline for this is what each chapter would be like. And then as time has gone on, I've altered that outline because I haven't liked I haven't liked a few
Yeah.
things and stuff. But today it's like I wrote the sixth labor and walked away from it just going, wow, that that worked out really well. I'm
Yeah.
really proud of that. That's
Yeah.
really good. And
Neat.
so yeah, it's just working out puzzles, I think, is what I think of it as.
Well, I know you have a family because I met your son at the farmer's
Mhm.
market.
Yeah.
So, how does it work for you when you've got a class to teach and a curriculum to, make sure you have prepared and ready and papers to grade, family to take care of? And then where does
Right.
writing fit in and all of that? How do you make it work?
I think a lot of times what I like to do is, oh, well, I feel like when I'm not writing, I have it's constantly going in your head anyway,
Mhm.
where it's like they're on the back burner, or you do it when you're mowing or when you're driving.
Yeah.
It's there in your head and you're working through it. And then when you finally sit down to do it, it all just comes out you know? And while I don't have a lot of time to do it like daily, like during the school year, I still try to find time where it's like, this has to be done.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
has to be done the way that, you go for a checkup at the dentist. You just like, you just know when it's time and you just sit down and you've got to do it.
Yeah.
And you've prepared so much in your head going into it that it comes out so easily. And so, I wish I could say I had some sort of magic formula for, oh, if I do it at this day and time, then it'll happen. It's like I try to set aside my Monday mornings to try and do a little bit of it. But I've been off school for almost a month now, and today was really the first day that I was like, all right, it's got to get done.
Yeah.
It's like this is the first time I've been able to really, really write
Mhm.
because I've been blocked, and so I just kind of needed to finally get it all out.
So did your son start making his comics because dad was writing, or was it just on his own will that he thought, yes, I'm going to create? What was that like?
We we've been making it so lo we've been making comics in some form for so long
Oh,
that,
okay.
like, I don't even remember when we started. He was I still have some of those really early comics, when he was about 3 or 4
Oh,
that were just these, like, kind of, like, nonsense, very stream of consciousness things. And, I think a lot of it too came from I was trying to teach him how to focus his storytelling a bit more
oh, okay.
because, it's like I remember when it was when he was 5, we were really starting to be like, okay, like I go, if you want, let's make a comic together. What do you want that comic to be like? What is it about? Well, I want it to be a Mario comic. Okay, that's fine. What happens in this? We're gonna call it Bowser B's Good. Okay, Bowser B is good. Okay, like what do we do? How does Bowser become good? And so like every page, it was like we were slowly like, okay, give me the idea, and then it would be something really okay. Now they're on the moon. Like, well, no, you can't do that. Like logically, the story has to have some
Yeah.
progress. We have to have
Yeah.
these middle bits. You're wanting to do beginning and end and not have any of the middle stuff. And so it was only a couple of years of doing that before he really like he just gets it. Like he
Yeah.
understands how to do page beats. He understands like so perfectly how to tell a story in a certain number of pages.
Oh,
Like when we did our Shovel Knight comic, he was like, "Well, I want to do a Shovel Knight fan comic." I said, "That sounds great." And he goes, "I want to do one for each of the main knights in Shovel Knight." I go, "Okay." I was like, "Well, what do you want to do with that?" He goes, "All right, there'll be 4 8-page stories. The page 1 is going to be this, page 2 is this." And like in an hour, he had outlined a 32-page comic. And I
goodness.
was just like, And like, and with like logical beats, it made sense. Like it was not like there was like very little editing on my part at all for
Mhm.
what needed to be done. And then when we sat down to draw it, of course we change it as we go and stuff. But as far as the outline goes, it was fantastic. And and so he's so fun to work with. He's so fun to make comics with. He's so funny. His jokes are just like they're just so killer. Like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
just I mean, and it's not in a oh he's so juvenile kind of way. It's like no, his jokes are really sophisticated
Yeah.
for he knows what's funny, and he goes for it. And so
Mm.
it's just I don't know. He's very fun to work with, and that's not taking away from my daughter either, who I'm sure is probably listening.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's like, "Uh-huh, I'm over
yeah,
here."
yeah, she naturally like, she's watched us do it, and so she just goes and makes comics on her own. She does not want my help. She does not want me to draw
Oh.
anything, and her storytelling ability is really fantastic too. It's just I don't it's not I don't know. I don't she's trying to pop in.
Hey, come
You can see a
on in, say
blurry version
hi.
of her there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they're really fun to make stuff with, and, it's fun making stuff by yourself, but collaborating with kids and seeing where their imagination goes is just
Yeah.
there's just something about it. It's just so good.
You mentioned Kickstarter and how it was more about the collaborative process. What made you even think to go to a farmer's market?
Oh, I got invited by Jessie Stone.
Very nice.
Yes, yeah, she wanted to do, an author's day, in April, and then she's gonna
Uh-huh.
do another one in September,
Cool.
and, yeah, so I've known Jessie for, ever and ever, just because 'cause I've always loved Lewd Lennons. We've got Lewd Lennons in our house, um, and so yeah, she's an inspiration. She is so ridiculously cool, but yeah, she invited us to be there, and yeah, it could not have been a better day for us. That was an amazing day. It was so
That was
fun.
really neat. I've been there so many times, and then
Mhm,
I'll have stretches where I haven't gone. And I was there and
mhm,
I must have came across at least three writers, and I'm like, this is
mhm.
fantastic. Well, have I missed this?
Yeah.
I didn't think
Yes.
that there were writers usually. So it was just that
Yeah.
day then. Okay, I got lucky.
Yeah, it was just
Wow.
that day, yeah. Yeah,
That
it's
is
one of
fantastic.
those it helped too because I kinda going into it, I was like, "I don't know how successful this is gonna be," just because I'd never done a
Yeah.
farmer's market before, It's like we only ever really set up at bookmarks in town, because our friend Josh owns that store, and he's a really great dude and always has us back, and we do fairly well there. But the farmers market, I was just like, oh wow, I can't believe how well this is going. This went really really well, and so it felt really nice to have people actually care about the
Yeah.
stuff that you do,
That's
So
really
it's good.
neat. That's really fantastic. What kind of advice would you give writers out there that are overwhelmed and they don't even know where to start?
Um, I think in terms of I don't know how to help people get started, but I do know how to help people finish,
Okay,
which
sure.
it's just there's always that next project that is so
Hmm.
shiny and new, and you think like, "Oh, that's gonna be better than the thing I'm working on."
Yeah.
It's like, "No, the thing you're working on is the best thing you've ever done."
Hmm.
So finish that thing, and then when you're finished, you can make money on it, enough to pay somebody else or at least to just say, "I have it in my hands. Here it is."
Yeah.
You know? So it's just like, I've had people tell me before, they're like, "I don't know how you do this." I'm like, "Because you just have to tell yourself it has to be finished."
Mm,
Like, I have to finish this thing. And I know that not a lot of people read the stuff that I come out with. And if they do, they never talk to me about it. And so you create like this vacuum a little bit,
yeah.
where you're like, I don't know if anybody likes the thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
If I get any feedback, I am over the moon about it. Like, thank you so much for telling me that you liked this.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Um, but you just have to tell yourself, I don't care if anybody sees this. I just need to finish the thing. And then I can move on to the shiny new thing after that, you know. Um, but yeah, I think that's really how you get stuff done, is just those self-imposed deadlines.
Very good.
And I guess as far as getting started goes, though, I always think, like, I know that this is like a cliche writer's advice, but I think it so works, though, is when people say, write the thing that you want to read. It's like I always think, like, everything that I write, I think, oh, I would love to read something like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wish somebody would do this thing,
Yeah.
you know, and I mean, it's like the whole reason we did a Home Alone comic together was because I would see people say, "Oh, what if Kevin McAllister fought Predator?" I'm like, literally, you can make that now. Go make it,
Yeah, yeah.
you know? And no one makes it, so I was just like, "Well, my son and I will make it together," and so we did. And so,
Fun.
you know, that's how we just got started, because no one else was gonna do it, and I wanted to read it, so I'll make it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time. I'm so glad our paths crossed. I
Me too.
I would like for you to tell people where they can keep up with you and get your books.
Yeah, so you can keep up with me on popgunchaos. Sorry, no, Popgun Chaos on Instagram. I used to have a website. I don't have that any longer because no one uses those anymore. But but I'm on Instagram at Popgun Chaos. My books are all on Amazon. You can just get on there and order them directly from Amazon. You can send me a message on Instagram, and I will send stuff to you. I also have a Patreon where people can support me
Sure.
on there. So that's also Popgun Chaos. And that's where my Hercules book is every month. So there's a new chapter at the end of the month every single month. And so I keep up with that. There's a ton of writing on there. So people it's just $1. Give me $1 and you can read literally almost everything that I've done. And
There you
so,
go.
so yeah, that's where people can find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Come back anytime.
Oh yeah, no, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yes. And everybody, you can follow along, keep up with new podcasts, link over to whichever platform you want to watch or listen from runradio.net.